Welcome to Raising Nashville. I'm Bucky.
Juicebox.
Oh boy.
And that sound must mean that we are back for our second installment of our Christmas series this year. Many of you listened last week to our Christmas movies episode, but we are back this week for Christmas, and we are talking Christmas traditions today. But before we get into our episode, Old Boy has wanted to read some updates on previous podcasts, which we occasionally do because new information comes out, and we want to make you guys the most up to date.
Right. We've been pretty poor at updates, but and I wanted to update everybody on. I read something about Kid Rock's bar closing down, but I was corrected that I thought it was the Nashville bar. Turns out it's some other bar he has. So
turns out it's a restaurant in Detroit that I had no idea existed.
How much do you know about Kid Rock's investment profile?
I don't. I know he has a bar in downtown Nashville. Yeah. And because of recent Oprah comments, there's a good chance that could be renamed too.
Right, yeah.
So like Honky Tonk Central 2.
So update number 2, a friend of our podcast, Dr. Hay, has been missing for about a year now.
Dr. Hay.
An entire year?
Yeah.
For our loyal listenership out there, Dr. Hay has come in on the episode a couple of times and kind of given us his... PhD advice on certain things?
Yeah. So maybe missing. He's been on the lam maybe, or maybe the Chinese government has him.
So he's been missing since before we did the podcast about him?
It's really weird. There's a paradox there.
Isn't that crazy? We didn't know he was missing at the time, and we could have turned him in.
Yeah.
Oh, well, so you want to turn him into the dictatorship?
No.
Oh, my God.
I don't. No, I am not pro-dictator.
Well, yeah. Okay.
All right. So this week we're talking Christmas traditions on Raising Nashville podcast. And we know that many of you out there probably have your own traditions. That could range everything from what meal is placed on the table on Christmas to when you open presents, or if you allow kids to open presents early, or what movies you watched, as we covered in last week's episode. There are many Christmas traditions out there, from decor to, the Advent calendars to Elf on a Shelf to, there are just these things that continuously compile. So we wanted to give you guys out there a special episode today, our listenership of our Christmas traditions. And I have a feeling some of them might be heartfelt and some of them might be just kind of odd.
I think we're going to do a little update or a little history on Christmas, starting with the birth of Jesus, which I think
is a tradition.
I mean, that's what we think that we're celebrating.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Before we get into Christmas traditions, we should go all the way back and start with maybe some of the listenership out there has not, taken the time to dive into where Christmas came from.
Right. So, all right, approximately 2,000 years ago, Jesus was born, right?
Sure.
They don't know exactly when he was born, but in the 3rd century under the Roman Emperor Constantine.
Yeah, he was the first emperor to embrace Christianity, and that was in 336 AD.
So, and they combined it again with that winter solstice. So it's they kind of merged it with the pagan. Not necessarily.
So you're saying we're not actually celebrating Jesus' birthday?
Nobody knows exactly when his birthday was.
Yeah, we're celebrating his birthday, but it's not confirmed that it was actually on December 25th.
Gotcha.
Right. Juicebox was saying that. Astrology, and there's been some speculation that it may have been in March, right? So then 9 months later,
that's when the Annunciation was. The Annunciation was. We're going down the whole religious thing now. I don't know. But that was supposedly in March, based on the stars and stuff like that were in the sky. I mean, people have done some serious research into this. So then 9 months after that would have been about December 25th.
Sure. Right. So anyway, you've kind of got, that's when it's kind of put in stone. That's when it is. I'm not going to get into the Roman stuff too much. But medieval stuff.
Please don't. And God, I hate medieval stuff.
No, I think you're really going to like the medieval stuff.
I don't. I hate every medieval movie. I hate Game of Thrones.
Which is not
And now
real.
You're telling me Santa came from the medieval world, which I hate.
I think Juicebox is going to cover Santa a little bit. But Saturnalia, you've also got a combination of Yule and...
Tide?
No. Maybe it's just Saturnalia and Yule. But it's extreme drunken party, promiscuous gambling like time of year.
Sounds like every Christmas I've had for the past decade.
Right. It got so rough, like in the Middle Ages, man. They like Puritans banned Christmas. Pro-Christmas people are rioting, and it got nasty.
I would love to be a part of a Christmas riot. I wonder what that's like.
You should go up to Portland when they do that Santa Claus.
You're just charging people with Christmas trees and throwing candy canes.
So anyway, you had that, and then there was also back in during that time, New Year's Eve had gift giving, which they merged that with Christmas. So that's kind of where that comes from, but that's not really. I mean, that's not necessarily Christmas how we know it.
Gotcha.
And, so to update it, I think. Do you have more on Kris Kringle?
For our listenership out there, I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole about Santa being a dictator on this episode.
Thank God. We had enough of that on the last one.
Don't worry. I am going to talk a little bit about the original St. Nicholas. The legend of Santa Claus can be traced back hundreds of years to a monk named St. Nicholas. It's believed St. Nicholas was born sometime around 280 AD in an area near modern-day Turkey.
Okay.
He was admired for his piety and kindness. He was known to give away all of his wealth and travel the countryside helping the poor and the sick. One of his best-known stories is the time he saved 3 poor sisters from being sold into slavery or prostitution by their father by providing them with a dowry so they could be married.
Right.
That sound like a dictator to you?
Hold on. Well, these are the early days, man. You know,
this is a real person too. This is not.
This
Santa
is like
the
before
dictator.
Vader turned into Vader.
Yeah, you probably would have hung out with Joseph Stalin before he went all Stalin. But no, that story about Saint Nick saving the ladies. Yeah, like he put the money in their stockings. That's why you have stockings. And some speculate they were actually prostitutes. It was a little, wink.
I mean, yeah, who knows? But anyway, that is one of the stories about him that grew, and he became super popular and known as the protector of children and sailors.
Okay.
So, I'm not exactly sure what that means.
I don't know a sailor, but I'm assuming they have pretty good Christmases too.
So anyway, people would celebrate his death, like he died on December 6th. I'm not sure exactly what year, but then people would start to celebrate his year or his birthday or his death day. I'm sorry. And it was considered a lucky day, and people would make purchases that day or get married just because it was like good luck. And even throughout, like during the Protestant Reformation, saints were kind of like looked down on or like kind of started to be phased out. Everybody except for St. Nicholas, for some reason, he was like still really popular.
So the legend begins?
So that was, yeah. So that's the legend that came from him basically. And then around the late 1700s, in America at least, it's St. Nicholas made his first inroads into American culture in the late 1700s after a group of Dutch families gathered to honor the anniversary of his death. So then, like, Santa Claus kind of evolved from that. They called him Sinterklaas or Sinterklaas.
Sinterklaas.
And
sounds very German.
Santa Claus came from that. Then, like, in 1804, somebody named John Pentard kind of, like, did a woodcut of Santa, and there was stockings in the background and stuff like that. And that's kind of, like, where this whole thing was, like, born, like, through this artist depiction of Santa.
The imagery of Christmas. That's pretty interesting.
Departments, I mean, as early as the 1840s, department stores were hiring like Santas to like work in their stores and stuff like that because it was already like a draw for people. Late 1800s, the Salvation Army started dressing homeless people in Santa costumes and making them go out and like solicit funds. Yeah, basically, which is still going on today.
Huh.
Around the same time as they were putting Santas in department stores, 16-year-old Jack Daniel inherited a distillery and started making whiskey.
Wow.
Right?
Huh. It's weird in my mind. It's hard to connect those things, but you found a way to do that.
There is a connection there somewhere.
That's pretty interesting. Mid 1800s, man. They already had people out there dressed as Santa, getting that Christmas money.
Yeah. So anyway, from there on, you can track the Santa just morphs and becomes what he is today.
Yeah. No, he looks
so
like
it brings us to today's time when, as we've covered on this podcast, Old Boy is not the biggest fan of the legend of Santa,
right?
Or what we tell our children, because he considers it lying.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, it's a lie. We're participating in a lie. It's I don't know if it's harmful, but it just seems deceitful. And eventually, she's gonna figure. I'm talking about my kid. She's gonna grow up. She's gonna figure it out, and she's gonna be like, "Okay, so you lied to me for 7 years."
No, we just prepared you for life, and that means we were telling you this, and then when you find out it's not real, you're gonna find things out in life that you thought were one way, and they're really not. So this is your first opportunity to cope with that at about 7 years old.
That bullshit. I think
I kind of see it both ways now. Like, it is kind of training your kid to be like, things are maybe not always what they seem. It sucks that it's you, the parent that's teaching it, that's lying to them. But it's a good lesson to be like, hey, don't believe every single thing that you hear.
Yeah,
true. Or you could just be pretty upfront with them and be like, hey, this is what it is, and you can tell them what's real and what's not from the get-go, I think.
Okay, so
And
you want to
could
treat
just
it
say,
like the Easter Bunny. I mean, obviously, bunnies cannot put...
What the fuck are you saying?
So let me ask you this. When did you find out that Santa wasn't real?
I was in first grade, and I was on the bus, and I went to a...
So you're about 7.
Six.
I was 6 or 7.
I was 6 years old, and I was on a bus, and I went to a school that was first grade through high school, and I was riding with old kids on this bus, man. So I was sitting in front of these kids, and these 2 kids, and I'll never forget it. They go, man, I bet these dumb kids still think Santa Claus is real. And man, it is like a door unlocked. I was like, of course, of course, I'm so dumb. So I went home, had the conversation, and then my parents were like, yeah, but don't tell your brother, and like, so then I became complicit. I don't know.
Yeah.
From then on,
So you were forced to lie at a very young age.
Yeah. And I don't know. It's just, and some people, it's no big deal to them. They're like, yeah, okay, I found out, big deal. But to me, it was, I don't know.
So my mom told me, and I'll also never forget this. I was probably around the same age, 7, 8 years old. Only child, lived with my single mom in this like duplex. And I remember coming down on Christmas morning, and there was this huge box that wasn't there underneath the tree, right? And it was massive. It was almost half the size of me. And I remember getting so excited, and I run straight to that box, and she's like, no, let's open the presents that have been under the tree, and then we'll open that box last from Santa. And I get to that box, and I start ripping it open, and I'm so excited. I mean, it's a big square box, and I rip it, and I tear open the box, and I look in, and it's a fucking sleeping bag. And I'm not talking like a sleeping bag with Ninja Turtles on it. I'm talking like a regular Coleman, like navy blue sleeping bag.
A man's sleeping bag.
Yeah, like just a practical sleeping bag.
Yes, and I think I look at my mom and I say, I don't think Santa would bring this to me. And I was so disappointed. She walks into the kitchen, about 30 seconds later walks back out and says, sit down on the couch. I need to tell you something. And right then we went into the fact that Santa isn't real, and my mom works hard to provide presents for me, and that's what she wanted to get.
Do you think she went in the kitchen and took a shot that came back out? All right, here we go.
I mean, all that could have been avoided if it were just discussed up front.
That's true.
See, I got a different experience. Like, as I've talked about in previous podcasts, like, we didn't celebrate holidays when I was growing up. So we didn't celebrate Christmas. So I just grew up knowing that there was no Santa Claus. So it was like when I started hanging out with kids that believed in Santa Claus, it was so weird.
So you are a product of what Old Boy is trying to accomplish right now.
I think Juicebox is a very sensible person.
Well, I don't know. I mean... It was bizarre though to be like, because I knew people that still believe in Santa Claus like in 3rd grade and shit. So it was just like, what's going on here? But I don't know. People just want to believe in it. And all that being said, like, I'm gonna be complicit. Like, I'm gonna do we're gonna do Santa Claus with our kid at least for a little bit. I mean, it's like, I don't know. I agree with doing the half and half thing. It's like, we bought you these, and then Santa brings you one present or something like that.
Right.
I'm not trying to like
Santa does all this.
Yeah.
And for the record, I'm complicit too. I mean, I'm doing it too. I'm right in the same game, doing the same thing, lying to my child.
I'm gonna ride it out. In fact, I want him to find out from somebody else because I don't want to be the bad guy. So I think I'm just never gonna give in until I think he's old enough to actually comprehend that I'm fighting for this cause.
Does that mean if somebody else tells him that Santa isn't real, you're gonna keep being like, no, Santa is real? Like,
Yeah, who told you
it
that?
depends on the age.
You're gonna act like you still believe in Santa?
Yeah, it depends on the age. He is when he comes and tells me that. And if I determine that he is not old enough to not believe in Santa yet, I'm going to say that kid was lying. You listen to your dad.
What if he's like 22? He's like, Dad,
So
I knocked up a girl and she told me Santa wasn't real.
So
That would be my dream.
So earlier when you were talking about teaching your child not to believe everything you hear, you're going against that direct rule, and you're gonna be like, no, you keep believing. Would you say don't stop believing?
No, I would not say don't stop.
Do you guys
believing.
play that song a lot?
I hate you. All right, so let's talk Christmas traditions. You guys growing up, did you have any Christmas traditions that really stood out? And like I said at the beginning of this episode, there are many Christmas traditions out there that many different people celebrate and take part in. And, you know, there's companies out there that are kind of pushing Christmas traditions now. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago that Pie in the Face game came out, and then it was like everywhere.
God, yeah.
And it just turned into this Christmas thing, and I think that's because everybody is together.
Yeah.
So I want to know if you guys had anything that really stood out growing up. Now, we all know Juicebox is pretty limited on his Christmas traditions.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling he is going to create some moving forward because I don't know, it just feels good inside. As much as I don't like Christmas, I like the idea of Christmas.
Right. Well,
I say I don't like Christmas is because, you know, when you grow up and both your parents are remarried and you have 7 different places to go on Christmas, you're always moving and traveling, and you just hate it because you can't sit there and enjoy anything.
Right, it's hectic. I get that.
I've never really liked the actual days of Christmas, but I like the idea of it.
Right. Getting family together and spending time together is what it's all about, really.
Sure.
Right. So growing up, my mom's family's from Indiana and my dad's family's from here in Nashville. So we would alternate. So we would travel some Christmases. So if we went up to my grandmother's and we'd go up there, my father and my brother, we'd always go watch a movie. Didn't matter. And it's usually a James Bond movie.
Sure.
So we'd always go see a movie during Christmas. That was part of our tradition. And we would do it here too. And play games when we're in Indiana. We'd play board games the whole freaking time, man. So I'm ruthless.
Oh, I'm sure. That's a good way to pass the time.
Was that like a big family event there, or like was there a lot of people? Or
Yeah. She's got a huge family. So that side of the family, we'd all get together and play just games all day, every day.
Sure.
So that's a big part of it. Did you guys go caroling? Anybody?
I have been caroling maybe one time with like a church group on a Wednesday night when I was 12.
Right. I think we've been one time also. And I just remember us doing it, but I don't think it was like.
I think caroling is done because it's kind of creepy at this point. And
did you go door to door caroling, or how's that? Yeah.
Yeah, we were straight up. But we were in some I remember we were in a neighborhood that was not my neighborhood, and we were with another group, and it was like really nice house. It was nice. It was like kind of cool, but it was different. We only did it the once.
I can't imagine if someone knocked on my door and I opened it up and there was just a group of people singing Christmas carols in my face.
It's kind of cool, actually.
Should we start it back?
Yeah, I think so.
Should we get our friend group together and start caroling? But let's pick some different Christmas carols. Like, what's the one that you and Dana did for the music
Hollis
video?
Queen?
Yeah. Christmas in Hollis. We should all get together and choreograph Christmas in Hollis and just do that.
Dude, I don't know. In hindsight, I mean, it's kind of nice, man. You open your door, some folks are singing to you, and it's like, all right. And I think you have to pay them with,
sure.
Alcohol.
That'd be great. So one of my Christmas traditions, since I was a little kid and I was old enough to purchase things with my own money, has been Christmas lights. And the reason I have done this, I'm inspired and have been inspired since I was a little kid by my uncle. He goes all out every year, and he's actually won the Nashville City Christmas light competition like 3 times.
Damn.
He's been in it pretty much most of the years. He doesn't do it as much anymore as he used to, but he used to live in Donaldson, and he created this like winter wonderland around his house, and it was inspiring to me. So when I was old enough to buy, things, I bought, I think, a strand of Christmas lights and started in my bedroom at home, and then it got really intense when I went to college, and all of my college friends are out drinking and partying, and I'm like hanging up Christmas lights.
You were weird.
I was a little weird, but it was also awesome to get notes or cards in the mailbox in college from neighborhood people who didn't go to school there saying, thanks for brightening up the neighborhood.
Mrs. Anderson and...
Yeah, there you go. And that inspired me to continue further. So now I'm 37 years old. I've got 2 kids, and I buy more Christmas lights every year. So I'm building to this. I'm not going all out and spending a ton of money. I'm just continuously buying the sale stuff after Christmas is over and anything involving lights. And I think now, I counted the other day, I'm up to close to 4,600 Christmas lights on my house.
Damn.
How early do you put them up?
This year, since Christmas was short, between Thanksgiving was late, I got about 3 weeks. Previous, though, I've done up to 5 weeks. I've never turned them on before Thanksgiving, but since the weather's so nice, I get them hung up and let them sit there until I'm ready to click that button.
I gotcha. All right. Okay. How long does it take you to put them up?
It takes about a day, and I break it up into chunks. I get on the roof. I do some things with, very tall bushes. I've recently gotten into, and only because of my kids, if my wife is listening, I hate this, but we have those blow up things in our yard now. And I'm just, that's not tradition. But since the kids love it and they love looking at it, I've allowed 2 in my yard.
For how long?
What do you mean?
Like just this year?
I had one last year. I've got 2 this year.
So now it is tradition then.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not buying another one next year.
You went from 1 to 2.
I'm not going to be that guy with all the blow up shit in your front yard that during the day, like when you're driving by, it's just all laying in the yard.
It's just a terrible. Yeah.
We'll see. I'll give everybody an update.
I feel the same way, man. I think the inflatable things are dumb. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt because you do have so many Christmas lights to accentuate it. But like the people that just have like 4 inflatables in your front yard, it's like, that's just lazy.
It is. And I miss the deer. I miss mounting deer. Actually, that's another Christmas tradition, technically. Running around your neighborhood as a teenager in high school and taking those 2 deer, one that's bent down and one that's kind of up on his legs, and mounting them to obviously make them look like they're procreating.
Yeah.
Huh. That is not a tradition I ever took part in.
Yeah. Really?
No.
Oh man, we were all about mountain deer down here in Nashville growing up in the 90s.
That's weird.
I was.
Okay.
I thought it was funny.
I mean, we know from past experiences or past episodes, I'm down for some holiday shenanigans. But I've never done that.
Yeah, well, we always have this year, I guess.
So Juicebox, I know that you didn't necessarily, didn't celebrate Christmas growing up, but when you finally got into Christmas, how old were you?
I don't know. I think maybe like we started just doing present exchange maybe when I was like 12 or something like that.
But still no decorating?
We didn't really decorate, no. I mean, my mom started like later on. She started to decorate a little bit around Christmas time, but we've never really been like a big Christmas tree family. Like
Gotcha.
My dad was, my parents were divorced. My dad was like living in an apartment. He didn't ever set up a Christmas tree or anything like that. He did give us some Christmas presents. So yeah, I don't know. We didn't have a lot of strong traditions there, but when I was a teenager and stuff, we did like start to get together and just like hang out on Christmas, and it was still like that whole family event, and that still continued on to like in my 20s and stuff. No matter where we were, we all made it back to my mom's house and hung out there for the most part. But it wasn't really until I got together with Dana, who is has a big Catholic family, and they are all about Christmas.
Oh,
like, they
man.
are
Super Christmas.
into it. So that was just kind of like eye-opening to me, and I was like, it was intimidating at first, but then it's like, okay, I'm really into it now.
Yeah.
Don't they have like 20 like Santa shot glasses or something.
Yeah, they do. The tiny little winking Santa shot glasses that are like antiques or something. Yeah, we always take a shot out of that, like cheersing our grandfather every Christmas Eve because his birthday was on Christmas Eve.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
I think we did a round of shots in those glasses for your wedding.
We
too.
did, yeah.
That was a fun time.
That reminds me, I do have a Christmas tradition growing up that I forgot. We always open one gift on Christmas Eve. And it's usually a small gift, but I've adopted it, and it's part of my tradition now too.
So that is a kind of widely known tradition.
Is it? Yeah.
I
okay.
never got to do that unless you were at your grandmother's house on Christmas Eve or something. You got to open a gift,
right? And I think that's part of it. But it's usually like a smaller gift, something you don't even want, like socks or something.
But the thing is, I kind of want socks now.
I know, man, and that's a sad fucking.
It's not. If it's the right socks, I absolutely want those socks.
I got some like form-fitting socks for Christmas like 3 years ago, and I still wear the shit out of them. They're the best socks I've ever owned. They probably cost $15.
No, I'm with you, and I could go get socks anytime I want, exactly. But I don't. And when I get socks, I'm the same way. I like it, but it's a sad turn of events, is what I'm saying.
There is one Christmas tradition that my mom has, and towards me, and every year she gets me a toy. And every single year, I'm 37 years old, she still gets me one toy every Christmas. And I honestly think it dates back to when I was 7 years old and I opened a big box and it was a sleeping bag.
Got a man
and
sleeping
she has
bag.
been trying to make up for this ever since.
That's
for
great.
30 years.
Well, honestly, I mean, let's be completely honest. That's all I really want my parents to get me, right? Like, I don't even really want a present anymore from anybody. But if my parents give me a gift, when I open it, I expect a fucking G.I. Joe,
Yeah, be creative.
Something.
I actually was at the mall earlier today, and I picked up a remote control boat that goes up to 80 feet.
Be careful with that. I mean, granted, technology is a lot better now, but I had a remote control boat when I was a kid for one day because it drove away and that never came back.
Oh, man.
Like, drove out of the range of the remote and I never saw it.
You're also submerging batteries in water. I mean, I haven't opened this boat yet, but I'm assuming there's a pretty protective cover around it.
Yeah.
Should be.
I mean, they can make your phone waterproof. Surely they can make a toy boat waterproof.
So, Mom, this year you're getting a toy.
Something I don't necessarily know it's a tradition, and our buddy Corey and I talk about this sometimes, is when we were kids, I guess, what was it? Was it Donkey Kong that came out or something? There was a Nintendo game that came out when we were kids, and we were like, loved it. Maybe it was Mario 64 or something like that. And new video games on Christmas is like the jam. Dude.
Yeah.
That's also very smart for the parents. You
Right.
get them a new video game on Christmas and you have the rest of the day to do whatever you want.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a great point.
Yeah. As much as we hate screens on this podcast, and we have talked about that before, I think there's one day out of the year where I'm okay with screens, and that is Christmas.
Yeah, you need a break too, man. You need a damn holiday.
Did you guys ever get a game for Christmas and then as soon as you popped it in, you played it for 5 minutes, and you're like, oh no, this game sucks.
All the time.
That was the worst because you had no way to play games back in the day. You just were like looking at advertisements and like, magazine articles like, well, this game does look pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, Kirby. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Kirby. Yeah, that is marketing at its best right there. When you can't YouTube, videos of how people play this game.
Yeah,
you're right. So that's something I'm trying to do with my kid. Like, she doesn't play games. I don't think she really even has interest, but I broke out Mario. Yeah, because she's totally against everything I like. But I busted out Mario, so I was like, we're gonna play, and we play on Christmas, and we drink one Coca-Cola. We split one. That's the only time she ever drinks Coke is on Christmas.
Okay,
so that's like a little tradition.
That's her tradition.
Yeah.
I mean, many of you out there have these traditions, and they're fun, and you only really have to prepare for it once a year, and that once a year comes and goes pretty quickly in the perspective of everything. So creating traditions is always healthy, especially for your family. Continuing traditions is great for the elders in your family and just to keep it cohesive. So I'm very happy to be able to come on here today and talk about, some of our traditions, get you guys out there thinking about, what you have done so far or what you will do over the next few days.
This sounds so cliche to say, but, don't get caught up in the commercial side of it. We all like buying gifts for people, but don't like stress yourself out about it. It's not worth it. The just you being around your family and friends is like, should be enough, honestly.
What it's really all about.
Sure. And I mean, you got to think bowl season is upon us. So people are watching college football towards the end of the year. And then sports on Christmas. My stepdad always loved the NBA on Christmas Day. It's the same thing as like football on Thanksgiving. You just sit back and you watch mindless sports for like 4 or 5 hours, if you have the opportunity to.
Yeah. Or you just hang out with your family and bullshit with them, or, have drinks or whatever.
Unless you don't like your family.
There's some of that.
I mean,
there's people out there that don't.
Yeah, and then when you go home, you just go in your old room and start digging through drawers in the desk. And
I literally did that over Thanksgiving at my mom's house.
Did you really?
Yeah.
It's always fun to reminisce. Well,
are either of you traveling?
I am not this year. Normally we travel to Chicago and the day after Christmas, and my wife and 2 children are making the trek this year, and I'm going to stay back and protect the fort.
Day after Christmas?
Day after Christmas.
Oh, shit. Dana and Barrett are going to be out of town too?
Uh-oh. Old boy?
I'll be back around the 27th.
So that's a no.
Yeah. No, that's 2 days after Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
That's a Friday.
Yeah.
That is true.
Red Door.
Dude.
All right. So if any of you are out there, this Thursday, we will be at the Red Door Saloon, probably about sunset.
No, maybe Friday, right? You're back the 27th?
27th, I think.
Okay, so we want to invite everybody out there, our entire listenership, to come to the Red Door, back room, East Nashville. This Friday, 7 o'clock, you can meet us in person. We'll say hi. We'll shake your hand. We might even sign an autograph or 2.
And we might even let you buy us a drink.
Yeah. We'd love for you to buy a round of drinks. Well, we're happy that you joined us today to talk Christmas traditions. On behalf of Old Boy, Juicebox, and myself, we want to wish everybody out there a very Merry Christmas. And thank you for listening. Thank you for this year of listenership, because we've really gained some traction, and we love doing this for you guys. So again, as always, go on the podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, and like us, rate us, and we'll see you next week for New Year's.
Yep.
Merry Christmas.
All right.
We hope you guys enjoy listening. If you don't have children,
have one. Catch up.
Yeah. We want you to know what we go through.
Yeah. The fear.
Santa baby, slip a sable under the tree for me. Been an awful good girl, Santa baby, and hurry down the chimney tonight. Santa baby, an outer space convertible to light blue. I'll wait up for you, dear Santa baby, and hurry down the chimney tonight.